Hi, everybody. I'm Megyn Kelly. Well, last week, the Speaker turned heads when she said that some opponents to this health care legislation were showing up at these events wearing swastikas. Senate President Harry Reid then called them, Senate Majority Leader Harry Reid then called them un-American. And now the Speaker has run with that description, that un-American charge.
At least one Republican calls the Speaker's description unfair. Georgia Congressman Tom Price is chairman of the Republican Study Group, and good morning to you, sir. Your reaction to what we read today?
Well, Bill, thanks so much. It's really disappointing and very sad. In fact, the Democrats in the House were told not to talk to Republicans on this issue, and the Speaker and Steny wouldn't allow us to send out appropriate communication to our constituents that outlined that chart. You may remember that chart about the health care issue. So if anybody's drowning out opposing views on this, the Democrat leadership and Speaker Pelosi. But the real issue is what's in the bill. And what's in the bill is not what the American people want, and that's why they're voicing their concerns right now. There's nothing un-American about trying to have your voice heard.
I think there's even something more critical in this article. It's actually in the third paragraph. We believe it's healthy for a historic effort to get so much scrutiny and debate. Continuing, it's well worth the time to get it right. It goes on further. Healthcare is complex. It touches every American life. It drives our economy. People must be allowed to learn the facts. Do you think the American people know what's in that bill based on your previous answer?
Well, I don't believe so, but I do know that if the American people hadn't begun to speak up and shout loudly to slow this process down, that this bill would have already passed the House. Speaker Pelosi said she wanted it passed by the end of July. So it's a bill that empowers Washington to decide who will get the kind of health care, what kind of health care they'll get. It's simply not what the American people want.
But it was said at the beginning, at the outset, that all this stuff would be held in public, on C-SPAN, carried all over the networks.
Well,
none of that has happened in committee. You charge actually against the White House that they manufactured the outrage.
Without a doubt, because they believe that they're the best way for them to pass what they want is to get this sympathy and to get rally their troops. In fact, they're better organized than the opposition. The opposition is just the American people out there saying, hey, look, this is not the American type of government that we believe ought to occur. Slow the process down, read the bill, have an appropriate deliberative process, move it through, and do it in a bipartisan way. That's what we've been appealing to.
Well, you know they have the votes. Does an article like the one we're reading today help or hurt?
Well, I think that it helps the American people and it helps the debate itself because nobody across this land believes that you ought to stifle the kind of discussion and concerns that the American people have. So if we have a vibrant debate, that's good. Now, the question is, how will people respond? How will these representatives respond who are hearing from their constituents this August? This is the most important month of this congressional term because the American people are demonstrating to their representatives what they believe ought to be done. The question is whether the representatives will listen.
Just about 3 more weeks in the recess. Tom Price from Georgia. Thank you for your time, sir, by telephone in his home state of Georgia.